point, it can start to hear us.
It's still.
Hey, what's up?
Hey.
This is episode 48, and before we start, I'm just gonna share that Cheerful Conversations is gonna go on a little bit of a hiatus, and I'll explain a little bit later why. But welcome to the show. I can't believe this has been 48 episodes. I have an amazing, energetic, super cheerful co-host today with me. It's Amy Angelilli. Hey, Amy.
Hey, April. I'm so glad to finally be here.
I know. I was talking to Gary, who is somebody both of us know very well, and he's like, "This has been like a long time in the making." I was like, "I don't even know why." Like, I always put the asks out, and a lot of people will be like, "I'll jump on it because I'll talk to anyone. You don't have to be super fancy. You can be super fancy, or you can just be somebody who's like, I'm completely scared to be on a show, but I want to try to do it." And so I'm completely open-minded. But then, like, I don't know if it's just we're never on social media at the same time or whatever. You just don't see my posts
I
or
think
whatever.
you
But
had a waiting list. I
I had a waiting list, and I was like, "This is crazy." And it just gets filled up, and then I think about like, oh my God, there are certain people that I like just need to get on the show, but then I'm always so backed up with like other people who want to be on that I'm like, when are things gonna open up? Well, who knew that COVID was gonna open things right up so much? But I mean, it was before COVID that we actually
Yeah,
signed on
it
to
was
do
a
this.
different world when we planned this. Yeah.
I know, and I was like, Amy, why haven't I had you on the show sooner? Because some of you all know that like improv has become such a big part of my life, and with Gary doing improv, and Amy and Gary are really really close as well, and so we have this like huge little community. But I think I've had most of the people who are in that improv space on the show that I actually know well, and I was like, why is Amy not on here? So she's here finally, and we're going to talk about the wonderful hashtag Find Your Adventure. We'll talk a little bit more about what that means after we do some of the fun intro stuff. So, Amy, why don't you, while I start to try to clean up some of my windows and everything now that we're started, why don't you tell everybody what you do, what you're up to, all about the amazingness that you bring to the world, and then we'll continue with the show.
Perfect. So, is it wrong of me to say that I play with people?
Depends. No, there's never anything wrong with that. As long as they're not, underage, maybe. But yeah, I mean,
Oh, well, I do kids too. Kids are Wednesdays.
I love it. So she plays with.
Yeah, I sometimes am asked, well, if you're talking to a possible corporate client, do you introduce yourself in that same way? Yes, I do, actually.
I love it.
So I do actually facilitate play adventures. And so over the years, I've been so positively affected by small group shared experiences, especially those around play, that I started creating and shaping my own. And improv, of course, was a big piece of that. Improv, a laughter yoga, and camp type games in general. So I do operate an improv training center in St. Augustine, Florida. So that's America's oldest city for the history buffs out there. And then I work with groups and organizations. I've been in Florida hmm, since the end of 2015. And so it was around Valentine's Day 2016 that I started the local playing with people here, and I've touched people locally from 9 to 92.
She touched them.
I touched them. They'll never be the same. Legit, never be the same.
I love it.
But it's kind of corny if you think about it. How transformational it can be. Um, you know, kids who can't read and who are super self-conscious, grown-ups who are socially disconnected, because of a major life change, and then organizations who are like doing the things but aren't connecting with the people. And I always say, business or pretty much anything is about the people. I used to work in animal welfare in a former life, and everyone would always say, "Oh, you're so lucky to, be with cats and dogs all day, blah, 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 blah." Yes. And it was about them, but in order to have success for them, it was all about what I was doing with the people.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's the way all of life is. It's how can you navigate people so that you're thriving and the people around you are also thriving.
100%. So connection is one of her values, I'm guessing.
Yes.
And that's why we get along, because I don't know what oh yeah, here. Have you seen my tattoos? Like, there's my connection.
Oh, yes. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've got it on my other one too. So, but these are my other two. So I've got my 4. I'm like, the people who are in my life will all have some sort of like familiar value.
Wow, those tattoos are so grown up. My tattoo is a Duran Duran tattoo. I feel suddenly so lesser than.
I also have Cheerful
and if it didn't hurt so much, I'd have a Bon Jovi one sitting right next to the Duran Duran one.
I love it. You're totally dating yourself. No, I'm kidding. That's amazing. I want to see them later.
Yeah, Bon Jovi canceled their whole 2020 tour, saying that it's the money that people would use for tickets is better used to support their families.
Totally. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, I cannot. I mean, it's going to be forever before concerts are back up and running, which makes me so sad. And I went through this whole big run of like concert after concert, like every month almost in 2018 and 2019. So I'm like glad I got that out of my system. But now I'm like, I'm going to be really happy when we can do that all again. So let's work on that vaccine, eh?
It's funny, the last live show I saw was Thursday, March 12th. And it's funny because I spent the first week of March in Mexico celebrating my divorce, because every life change is a celebration, right? And an opportunity to find out what might be. And then I came home and I saw in a little venue here that's so dear, I saw Dar Williams, who's a singer-songwriter from the Northeast. And I used to see her a lot in the 90s when I lived in Philadelphia. She was sort of like the darling of the college public radio. And she and I that night talked forever about, the singer-songwriter days of the 90s. I remember volunteering at the festival and selling all her CDs at the kiosk, and my drawer was perfect, so I got all her CDs for free as a thank you. And it was just such an amazing conversation. And we were both talking about our favorite DJ from that radio station, Gene Shea, who is dear to both of us, and he founded the Philadelphia Folk Festival. Ooh. And that was March 12th, like I said. And since then, he's passed away from complications with coronavirus. And like her book is sitting, she wrote a book about connecting through coffee shop culture as she's been traveling. And I read the first few pages of it, and I want to get back to it. And like, there's something inside of me that like makes me sad to engage with the book. Cause it's like, I feel like instead of shaking or hugging, we did like the little elbow bump, which was so weird.
Yeah.
But I feel like since March 12th, like so much has changed, and there's been, so much sadness. And so it's sort of like a reminder of it. And, at the same time, there's been so much resilience. So I just like look at that book on my bedside table with all these mixed feelings,
Yeah. Oh, man, that's crazy. Oh, God, coronavirus, quarantines, all of that. We'll have to do a little update on that a little bit later too. Just
Yeah.
because I feel like, I don't even know how many episodes I've done. I think it's only 3. Since this whole thing started, a lot of people have been like, I'm not in the right mindset. And I'm like, it's okay. I'm not gonna be like, I have to keep on this schedule. Like, this is a time that has really taught us to be flexible. So,
Hmm.
but I'm so happy you're here. So, anyways, so we met at WDS. Did we
Yeah.
meet before? Because I feel like the first time that I really, really remember interacting with you was like that improv meetup
With
in
Gary, yeah.
2016. Did we
And
meet before that?
and I remember, oh, here's Gary's friend April that I've heard so much about, and oh my God, she's like a pistol, she's a ball of fire. Oh,
Were
I'll
you
never
like,
forget April. April's so amazing. Why can't she put some of April into a bottle and sell it?
you were like, I'm gonna hate this girl already. No, it was crazy how he and I connected and how much we have in common and how well we get along, and it's not normal. Like, I don't know, I just feel like sometimes it's hard, but I feel like Gary gets along with everyone. He's got so many friends and
He
so
does.
many people that he
I have a special connection with Gary though, and people will say to us, like they'll say to one of us, Amy, remember that time you told me blah blah blah? Oh wait, no, that was Gary. Or Gary, remember when you said, oh no, wait, that was Amy. So
yeah.
we say we're the same person, except we live on different coasts,
Yeah.
except one's a man and one's a woman, except one's black and one's white, except one has dreads and one has almost dreads.
You're the same person.
Yes.
I know. Yeah, and then the laughter yoga meetup that you guys did, I don't think you did that in the 2016, but you did in 2017. I had been wanting to do laughter yoga for a really long time. So you were my first like legitimate like in-person experience doing that. So I knew a lot of people who I was like, tell me about this laughter yoga, because I sometimes will do what I used to think about yoga was like, I don't want to do these poses and like just stand there and like be quiet or whatever. Like, I feel uncomfortable. And so putting the two words together, I was like, that's how I feel about yoga. Like, I want to laugh because like I don't want to sit there like contorting my body because I'm just gonna start laughing because like this is super uncomfortable. So I love that. But yeah, so
And the good thing
WDS.
about laughter yoga is there aren't any poses. So
I know they're not, and that's, I mean, so it's not even yoga, but it was just putting
well,
the two
the
words.
yoga part is the breathing.
Yeah,
That's the yoga part. But I love it because it's accessible to everybody. Like I remember after foot surgery doing laughter yoga. Like I lived in Denver, and a friend of mine from my laughter yoga club would come get me, have me help me hobble out to the car, hobble into the space, and I would sit in the chair and do it with them, and it made me feel so much better.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, laughing is the best. I mean, that's why I like love comedy and just laughing till I cry and all of that stuff. But so yeah, so WDS is our connection. Gary probably on the secondary, because I did hear a ton about you too, and I was like, I can't wait to meet her. So that was so fun, because I don't think I had been taking, no, I hadn't taken improv yet at that time. So that was like one of my first like experiences.
Yeah, that was before you started your improv journey.
Yeah, so it was like a whole year and a half. Because he told me about it, and I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to make that happen. And then I was like, oh, you can't really, like, if you really want to, when I do something, I want to like do it like hardcore, right? So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna take it, I need to take like a series of classes, and if it's like a level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like I need to create the space to do it. And so it took a while for me to actually find time in my calendar. So it's crazy. And then now it's like there's so much time in the world to do whatever. It's just a matter of like, do I want to and do I have the energy? So
Two summers ago, remember I came out to Chicago to
yeah.
take an intensive with the improv nerd Jimmy
Yeah,
Crane.
because I was just about to start at that time.
Yeah.
So
And there was a little festival, improv festival going on at the time, and we saw lots of shows together, and you were like in it.
I was like, I love this. I want to do more. So yeah, and it's taken this whole new spin now. So I mean, I still love improv. I acknowledge that with the way that my life is, it's very hard to go perform once a week or teach or whatever. But I took a musical improv class. Was that last year, 2019? And I was like, I love this. So now I'm on this like music kick. So I'm taking this comedic songwriting class. So now it's kind of how do I use improv to create fun parodies or fun songs and then play the ukulele to it or whatever. So that's what's
Oh my
coming.
goodness, it's a new Weird Al Yankovic.
It is, yes. I am the Asian
yes,
female
yes,
weird
straight hair.
April Yankovic. It's coming. You just wait. I need some time. I've written one song so far, like, and that was super fun. I just have to put time to it. So, sometimes I get caught with like life, but yeah, so now I'm like trying to dedicate like time to craft and figure out how can I make this more fun and how can I do this faster. So, anyways, that's something I geek out on. How about you? That's something that I ask all of my co-hosts. What's something that you geek out on that's not work for you or not common or some sort of interesting fun fact about you?
So I geek out on travel hacking.
Ah, and
And
you're well traveled. You've lived
yeah,
in a lot of
and
places.
my specialty is Southwest Airlines, actually, accessing those $5 flights.
Yeah,
And this year, obviously, it's not going well.
that's
But it recently in past years, like I play a game with myself, like how many flights can I get every year through points and miles, and I've gotten up to as many as 2 dozen.
wow.
Um, and so that little game is not currently active.
Oh, so what's your replacement?
I haven't even looked at my points spreadsheet.
It makes you sad. You're like, oh, I can't even travel. It's sad. It'll pick up again, and I'm sure that the airlines will be like just craving just activity again. I just can't even imagine. Do you have any flights booked anytime soon? I guess with Southwest, the reason I don't fly Southwest is because they're like they only fly into Midway, which is
They
so
do,
far
yes,
from where I
yes.
live.
Uh-huh.
Otherwise, I would utilize them more. And so,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise, yeah, like we fly a lot of American and United. I think United is our
I have no flights booked right now. I have
because you can cancel on
everything in my life has been canceled through
2020 is canceled.
the end of the end of July. So I'm waiting to hear about August.
Yeah. We have our next flight is scheduled for August 4th, so fingers crossed that we're going to Yellowstone, which they're supposedly opening on June 15th.
Oh,
So we'll
yeah.
see. Everything is non-refundable or everything is refundable, like non-refundable.
Now, how many hours would it take to drive there?
So we'd fly into Salt Lake City and then
No, I mean from Chicago.
drive there. Oh, we're not.
Look at your face.
We're driving.
You're like, that is not happening. We're not even going to talk about it.
No. We've got a flight planned, so we'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic, but yeah, I mean, if we don't go, that'll make me sad because we normally travel like once every few weeks. Like this year, we made
Yeah,
a rule
you
where
travel a lot too.
we were like,
I've been finding myself as I, am walking through my house like,
yeah,
oh, I remember the time I went to Cambodia or like whatever, like some piece
Yeah.
of art will catch my eye. And it's so terrible because so many people are suffering and I'm
like, I want to go to Cambodia
I'm
again.
mourning the loss of my former life. But I read this fantastic article yesterday on Elephant Journal, and the writer was talking about just that thing, like mourning the loss of your pre coronavirus life, whatever that looked like.
Yeah.
And for me, like all the things that I love doing have ceased, with the exception of being able to go to the beach. And I am so happy to at least be experiencing this here in St. Augustine.
Yeah.
Because even if I have a day where I'm on Zoom like all day and it's getting dark, I'll run over to the beach and I'm just like listening to the waves, smelling the smells and I'm like, okay, I'm okay.
Yeah. You're so lucky you have that. I meanwhile am like buying. There's this.
You're buying clothes. You're buying
clothes. So like from a boutique shop in Miami. So we were supposed to go on a cruise for spring break, which didn't happen. we also booked a flight to Florida just in case. Before it started getting like really, really serious, we're like, well, maybe we can just go there for the week, but not go on a cruise. That got canceled. I was supposed to go to Florida to take a boat to the Bahamas for my friend who was supposed to get married. That got canceled. So like, I've missed 3 opportunities to go to Florida, and I'm like, and I know that Florida is a little bit more lax than it is here, so you get the sun and you're a little bit more open, and I'm like, oh, can't we just go? So,
Florida, it depends on where you are. Like, there's 3 counties in South Florida that are still completely on lockdown.
yeah. It probably has to for any big city. It's just
because it's more populated. It's more populated now.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but no, I've got these like beautiful beachy dresses and like 2 unused bikinis from this like cute boutique shop that I buy my.
Now, I would just like to point out the cheeriness of this. You have 2 bikinis. I haven't owned a bikini since 1989.
I don't think I could wear it right now based on like the way that I've been eating.
So you'll laugh at this. Speaking of bikinis, Robin Finney from WDS, from the World Domination Summit. So she coordinates these women's empowerment shoots that happen when you're traveling. And she said to me, if you don't do your empowerment photo shoot on the island of women in Mexico while you're on your divorce trip, then you're never going to do one. And I'm like, okay, white flag, I'm doing it. So she set up this photo shoot with this wonderful, lovely photographer from Uruguay. He lives in Playa del Carmen. He brought his girlfriend as his assistant. She's a veterinarian, so we were talking a mile a minute about the animals and blah, blah, blah. So we're like gathering like the things for the shoot, and he says, oh, and don't forget your bikini. And I'm like, that is so funny. So funny. He's like, what do you mean? What's funny about it? I'm like, I have not worn a bikini since spring break of like 91 or something. And he's like, well, what are you going to wear in the water when we do the water shoots? I'm like, see this dress? I'm wearing this dress in the water. So there's these like amazing pictures of me in this hot pink dress.
Yeah, they were beautiful.
In the Caribbean, in the turquoise water. And people are like looking at me like, why is she swirling around in a dress?
Girl, you do you.
No, hey, yes. Finding my own adventure.
Yes, which we will get to eventually. Good conversation. Okay, so I do this for every show. I pull a card from this vulnerability sexy.
Yes. Okay.
A wonderful game from one of my friends had made. So there's 3 categories. One is vulnerability. One is just icebreaker, so not as extreme. I wouldn't even say it's extreme. I mean, some of them could be. I don't know, because I haven't looked at them. And then the third one is laugh a little. So you get to pick the category, and I will randomly pull from the deck of my remaining cards. Like, this is funny because these cards right here, between my 2 fingers, those are the cards that I've already read for previous episodes. So it's a new one every time. So which one do you want?
So I'm gonna do a twist, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna laugh a little with vulnerability. So you can pull a vulnerability card, and whatever the answer is, I'm gonna make sure I laugh a little.
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Let me try to get this in focus. What's the biggest mistake you have ever made in a romantic relationship? You already laughed.
How many hours do we have?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny how like there's been some cards that I've pulled that are like perfect for the person that it's like tarot. I'm not even joking. It's like, oh, let's talk about it. You've already been kind of hinting at it. All right, biggest mistake.
So my before I answer anything, I have to tee it up with this conversation I had with my mother the other day. So my mother and her best friend, I guess, were texting because they can't hang out, and they were trying to figure out the current state of my love life, and they were getting confused. So I had to literally like it was like the dating game. Person number 1, picture, name, description, person number 2, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So then they were getting back to me with their thoughts about each one. Not that I asked. And then the next day I had a conversation with my mother, and she said, I sat down to read my book earlier, but instead I was just thinking about all your boyfriends over the years, starting with Michael Sala in the 2nd grade. She forgot the one in kindergarten. and she said, and I just gave myself a headache thinking about all them, because you have had so many losers in your life over the years. I only liked one of them, and that's the one you were mean to.
Oh.
I was like, well, this conversation has been fascinating.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Gotta love moms, huh?
Yes.
So,
oh goodness.
biggest mistake. Do you want me to go first?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I need a breather after that.
Okay. Yeah. She was not joking when she said she was gonna laugh a little with vulnerability.
Yes.
I think that one of the biggest things, I don't know, this is gonna be a little bit more serious, but one of the biggest things, or biggest mistakes I made, and I'm one of the people one of those types of people who have been in lots of long-term relationships. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I made, not that I would have done them any different, but I always tried to mold myself to my boyfriend. Anything that he wanted, I tried to become. There was the people pleaser in me. It was like wanting to make everything feel so great. And I think that's why a lot of my relationships lasted so long, because it was like, oh, you don't like this thing? Like, here, let me fix it, and let me change myself so that it's a non-issue. So having authenticity on my arm is one of those things where I didn't realize that how inauthentic I was being. It was like I was plugging all of the holes to make the relationship work, which is why I had a 1.5 year long relationship followed by a 4 year relationship followed by a 2.5 year relationship before before the person that I'm with now. So maybe the upside is that I dated a lot less guys.
Yeah.
That I'm a lot less of a sleut, I don't know, because of the fact that I, did that. So there might be some pros instead, but also just knowing that like I was trying to find like my true love by not being myself, and that kind of sucks. So that's my biggest mistake.
I think.
All right, your turn.
I think we've all done that. I think that's very, very, very relatable.
Yeah.
I remember in 7th grade having my father teach me about football, because the guy I was dating was a football player. I still don't understand football to this day, but if I understand football.
Yeah.
And like that sort of mentality carries with us into adulthood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what I have discovered is that I have suffered from being the superhero fixer. Like, oh wait, there's something not right about you that you're struggling with. Dun da da! Let me grab my cape, and I will be your superhero fixer, and I will fix you, and I will make you a better version of yourself. This challenge is on.
Yeah.
And you can't support someone in their own personal development journey if they don't want to be personally developed.
Yep.
Right? And I like literally only had this epiphany through a very short-term relationship that I was in recently, and it was like the aha moment. And so now it's like, if you are not self-aware, if you have not dealt with whatever you need to deal with, like I just can't.
Bye. You're out.
Yes.
3. Oh, good learnings for all of those of you lovebirds out there potentially watching, being like, oh, am I doing that? Shoot, I gotta stop.
And P.S. age doesn't matter, because everybody is constantly evolving and learning. Mm-hmm. So, it's not like, oh, if only I had known such and such at whatever time in your life. Whatever you know now, is what you know now, and in the future you're going to know more. So
always growing. Awesome. All right. And then before we talk about Find Your Adventure, one last thing we have to do is spread some cheerful news stories. So
I have one.
what's funny about this is, like, you see John Krasinski with his Some Good News, and I was like, I started this 2 years ago. I know it's only like a tiny little segment of the show, but I've been consistently doing it. So I was kind of like, okay, you've got celebrity and you can get that reach. That's great, but you're validating the need for this that I had picked up long time ago. So yeah.
Well, it's funny because so many people in my world will bash Facebook. And don't get me wrong, like I was a counselor a couple years ago at a digital detox summer camp for grownups called Camp Grounded. And one of the core values was to disconnect, to reconnect. And I support that 100%. Mm-hmm. And I still enjoy Facebook so much because I enjoy the connection piece. I enjoy sharing fun stuff. And so every once in a while I share not so fun stuff. And it's either because I'm being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And so, I'll have interaction on that vulnerable moment that then will make me feel better. And then I can turn around and do it for someone else.
Yeah.
Or I'm just sharing an update about a situation that we are currently experiencing, whether it's like a hurricane that's coming down the street from me, or like my town possibly reopening, or whatever. So I call it like Facebook for good. Mm-hmm. And I think like we need to have that shift in mindset so that we have more good news, we have more positive interactions with whatever tools we're using.
Totally. And I have definitely seen too, I mean, some of the things that I follow, they're like, I'm subscribed on like the Forbes newsletter, and they're like, do you want the positivity newsletter? And I was like, oh, you're starting this now. Like, okay. I've been looking for this stuff. So, I mean, yes, of course, the downside to the fact is that there are a lot of people that are really, really down in the dumps right now with everything that's going on. But like, the fact that people are making that effort, it's just kind of like, thank you. Like, this stuff is important, but but even more important, like, once we're past this, like, that stuff shouldn't go away. We need more positive news, and hopefully I'll be, doing a little more with that down the road. But of course, I've paused some of my stuff just to handle staying positive in my own house. So yeah, I mean, I hope it will continue even after this whole thing is over.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, pausing is just fine because you're taking care of yourself.
100%. Yay. Okay, so I'll go first just because I have it. My news story I pulled from CNN's The Good Stuff, which it has been around pre-coronavirus. But just because e-learning and school is just such a big thing on my mind right now, I have a story about this teacher that created a way to safely hug her students during quarantine. Basically, like, the picture that you see is she looks like she's in this like big plastic bubble wrap thing, and she's like hugging her students like between plastic. And I just love that because it's like, this is like going above and beyond. Like, I would love to hug people, but I also at the same time I'm like, do I really want to just like do it like that? But the kid looked so happy, like hugging his teacher. So I was like, okay, maybe I would do that. So I'm definitely missing hugs. So it was just really, really cute to see a story about somebody like going that far, and hopefully she didn't suffocate. I'm
sure. I saw this. I saw the same story, only it was with grandparents and grandkids.
Yeah. Oh, so actually, what it is? So there's like I was scrolling down because I looked at the first picture. I was like, this is amazing. And I read like the first paragraph, but then I started scrolling down. Basically, like, there's this other lady that has this picture where she's like, it's basically like at her door. It's like plastic, like it's all plastic wrapped. Like, she sticks her arms like in
yeah.
That's hilarious. And then there's like, I should just share my screen.
Yeah, share your screen.
Okay, here. So This is the first picture that I saw that I was like, oh, this is so cute. Make this a little bit
Oh,
bigger, like super cute. And then you scroll down and it's like, there's the teacher. I don't know what these holes are over here, but like she's got arms and she can basically like, oh yeah. And then she talks about how to disinfect the plastic. And then she gives them hugs. That's pretty crazy. That's
that
awesome.
is so precious.
I was like, I'll do that. She's like, let me talk to you through plastic. So pretty amazing.
We were Jan, who's also Jan Keck, also from WDS. We were talking about high fives, and can we do like virtual high fives? Can we do virtual special handshakes?
Yeah.
You know, because
Like,
because we're missing all that besides the hugs.
I know. I should make a handshake.
I did a social distancing, which I call physical distancing, um, film party with my improv students 2 Mondays ago. We watched the improv film Don't Think Twice, and we did it in somebody's backyard. And we were all spread out in the backyard, and we had a projector and we watched it on a white sheet. So we were good, but it was awkward at the beginning and it was awkward at the end because all the hellos were awkward and all the goodbyes were awkward. You know, because nobody could like hug or high five or get too close, and it was just like, I don't know
about all this oxytocin. I want oxytocin. I was like, that's what I want for my birthday.
So are you gonna do a birthday redo?
Next year. I mean, we had some celebrations. Like, I don't know, my friends really stepped it up for me for my birthday. Like, I can't even, like, there was a car parade, there was a scavenger hunt, there was Zoom bombing, there was all this amazing stuff. It was just like I cried so much more on my birthday than like all the days leading up to it because I was depressed. And like I was like, this is exactly like needing the energy that I had lost, like just trying to support other people, and then like seeing everybody on social media just like, you know, I'm super empathetic, so it was just like, oh my gosh. And I was like, I don't want anybody to celebrate my birthday or whatever, but it's I feel so much better now. So
Well,
yeah.
what you're saying is a very real thing about supporting others, because that's the mode that Gary and I went into immediately.
Yeah.
And then after a few weeks, I'm like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. And
so are you taking a break? Yeah, because like I was already burned out after the first week. I was like, I want to support people, and then I was like, okay, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
I'm like, thank you, Gary and Amy, for like still like pushing through, because I was like, I cannot do it right now. I like shut down. I literally shut down.
Yeah, I think we've found our rhythm, and well, this sort of segues into my positive news story, which isn't like global news or
doesn't have
national news or local news. This is more like Amy news, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Does that count? I don't know what your rules are.
No, I don't have my rules are. I don't really have any rules. You got to show up. That's it.
So, wait, let me show you something here. One moment.
Suspense is killing me. I'm gonna eat an apple while I'm waiting. Ah, puppy. Yes. So you were saying something about this. So tell us about.
So this is the news, and it involves more than me. So that's why I want to share this story. So this dog, who's now named Corona, I found on the street early on in the pandemic, and it was a day that I had 5.5 hours straight of Zoom calls, and I was doing what I do. This was like before the beaches closed, so I was like going to the beach. Like literally, I like ran out the door. I'm like, I have to get to the beach. I just have to like smell, feel, like just get my senses out of computer land. And he was on the corner, and I pulled the car over, and he walked right up to me, wagging his tail, let me pet him. I grabbed him by the collar, put him in the car, and took him to my friend's porch so we could figure out a course of action. So long story short, that was a Monday, and that Saturday I reunited him with his owner, and who was having lots of issues in her life. And the following Tuesday, she contacted me and said, hey, can I take you up on your offer to help? Can you take him for a little while? My boyfriend and I are breaking up. I need to get my stuff out of storage, da, 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 da. And I said, yes, of course, pack up all his things. He could come over whenever. And she didn't get back to me. And 2 days later, he was picked up on the street again by someone else. And I got off my Zoom meetings and I was getting his picture through Facebook, because he showed up on Facebook, Lost Pet St. Augustine. And so I contacted the gals and went over and got him, went back to my friend's porch to sit down and figure out a course of action again.
Oh my gosh.
And this time people started sending me money. And I was like, oh my God, like money was showing up in my PayPal and in my Venmo. Mm-hmm. And so like, meanwhile, what had happened to me financially is recently divorced, all my work stopped, so I was like working, but like not making any money. So all my income stopped. My roommate was in the process of moving out. Mm-hmm. Right. So like perfect storm financially. Mm-hmm. And like none of the things were coming through. Like I wasn't getting the stimulus check. I wasn't getting unemployment. Like nothing had happened with any of the things.
Our darn WDS playhouse.
yes. All of that, So it was like a perfect storm for me financially. And then I was like, oh my God, this dog. And then people started sending money. And then other people said, please keep him. The woman isn't in a position to keep him. And if you keep him, then I'll help financially support that effort. And then another student reached out and said, let me help you coordinate a GoFundMe campaign. Mm-hmm. And so the donations started coming in, and, and I would post on Facebook regularly updates on him. His name is Corona. And my dad was like horrified, like, oh my God, people are going to get upset. You named the dog Corona. That's terrible. And I'm like, no, it's good, because it's something positive that happened during this awful period.
Yeah.
This dog is like a ray of sunshine in so many people's lives, because people go on Facebook to see if, something was posted. And every time someone made a donation, I would like thank them and write a little note like from his voice. And so in his voice, he calls me the lady, and he's like always getting in trouble with the lady. And then people started writing back to him, tell the lady this, tell the lady that. And then I took him for a veterinary appointment, and he came up positive for heartworm. And that's like almost $2,000 to treat and 6 months to get over. And he has to be quiet. And I'm just like, stick a fork in me. Like, I just can't, like, yeah. I just can't. One more thing. I just can't. And so, so again, like I went back to Facebook because people were expecting updates. The donations are like rolling. He has more money than me.
Oh, wow.
And just yesterday, he met his fundraising goal.
Wow.
So all of his heartworm treatment is covered by this community fund.
That's amazing.
Which is like the nicest thing that could have happened, not just for me, but he's making so many people happy with his daily updates and stories and pictures. And
oh, I love that. And animals, they're just positivity central. I love that positive story. Thanks for sharing it. So where can people find the updates? Just on Facebook with you, or like?
I've been putting them on my personal Facebook page.
So Amy Angelilli, find her.
Find her, and then you'll see Corona.
Find the lady.
Find the lady.
And follow Corona.
Yeah, follow Corona, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so we've gone through 45 minutes of just chit-chatting about amazing stuff, but do we want to talk about finding your adventure?
Sure. I have not even paid attention to the clock at all. Oh, yeah.
I know, it goes by super fast, but it's just such a good conversation, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, there he is. Can you see him?
Hi. Oh, my goodness. So precious. He's like, oh, I'm going to hang out. I'm going to just wait until the lady is done with her conversation.
So I'm in my home office right now, and he's on this is the futon in my home office. So when I'm at my desk, that's where he is. He always has to be where I am.
Yeah, Mine isn't in here right now because I think I blocked all the doors, but
He's
yay!
behaved so much, so it must not be good. Must not be good doggy TV on the floor today.
Okay, so we've I wanted to spend some of the time talking about quarantine and coronavirus, but it's definitely like perpetuated most of our conversation, which is totally fine. But getting to the whole root of some of the things that we want to talk about with, find your adventure. Like, what does that mean to you? Because I think, you know, there's there's so many different meanings for a lot of different things. And when I think of, if I were to use hashtag find your adventure, it would either have something to do with travel or it'd be doing something very daredevilish that could have bouts of fear, like jumping out of a plane or, some sort of like, I'm doing this big thing. Watch me, like, or I'm trying to seek something. But I feel like there's also the piece of, knowing who you are and just kind of knowing who I am too, is just this idea of like, we're all on a journey, right? So, and it could be, a travel journey or it could be a personal growth journey. So, what does find your adventure mean to you?
Well, it was funny when I started the adventure project because I started it when I lived in Denver, Colorado.
Hmm.
And so when you have a business named the Adventure Project and your hashtag is find your adventure and you live in Colorado, it's like, oh my God, we're going to bag all the 14ers. We're going to ski triple black diamonds. We're going to, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I call these people thoners. The people who get up at the crack of dawn and do the bikeathon, hikeathon, marathon, all the thons, which always like exhausted all parts of me in Colorado. Not because I did them, but because I watched people and listened to people and like was never involved in that world.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what this isn't, right?
Yeah.
So I prefer to think about finding your adventure in a more personal, quieter way. And what I tell my my improv students on day one of level one improv is this improv adventure is yours. Like whether you choose to just take level one or all 5 levels is up to you. And the end result doesn't have to be getting on stage. The end result is completely up to you. And that's what find your adventure is. It's about finding your own life adventure that resonates with you, not the thing that your parents think or your spouse thinks or your friends think or even like you think that you should do.
Yeah.
It's about finding the thing that resonates with you to be able to put together your own life adventure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that for those of you who have been following me for a really long time, improv, after having taken improv back in 2018 and just realizing how many tools, yes, I took improv with a bunch of, I like to say kids. They're gonna, if any of them ever watches, they'll be like, I wasn't a kid, I was 20. But like, an almost 40-year-old, like with a bunch of 20-year-olds who like eventually want to be on SNL or like their life's, purpose is to do improv shows and, be in that world. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that. It definitely wasn't my journey. I was just the, hey, I want to have fun. Oh, I was just seeing that there's a George Decker on and he's saying Corona is the best. So you've got some people, Corona fans watching. But also just like knowing that, yeah, part of my journey with improv was like, I just want to have a better presence on stage because I was a public speaker. I still am, but like that was what I wanted to enhance from the business side of things, but also because it's fun and I like to do fun things. And it was way better than Toastmasters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you and Gary suggested it. So I'm like, I gotta do this. So, realizing that adopting an improv mindset, which we actually talked about in the ASC in one of our most recent webinars about like leveraging improv. So like this is still so relevant, but taking some of those taking some of the tools that you learn in improv and applying it to life skills, but allowing yourself to, be open-minded. Because that's one of the things that, many people who don't know improv are very closed-minded, aren't flexible.
Right.
And if anything if we've learned anything from this like situation with coronavirus and quarantining and all of that stuff, is that we have to stay open-minded, because
Mhm.
there's no way that we can survive by trying to continue to do the things that we did pre-COVID.
Yeah. I just posted yesterday, as a matter of fact, a virtual improv class that I'm running Thursdays in June that's addressing that issue of, improv for life. Like, how can we be more resilient? How can we be more flexible? How can we be more accepting of what it is and be ready to pivot into the unknown with grace and without, not just surviving but thriving.
Yeah, for sure. That's
Um,
necessary.
and you know the the improv classes, people have said to me, have served as a stepping stone for like the next thing that they want to conquer. It's like, I call it like the gateway drug.
Yeah.
Years ago, when I started all of this, there was a gentleman who was recently retired, who took an improv workshop from me, and he said, now I'm ready to tackle my bucket list, and he like showed me all the things that he had on his bucket list. It was like, he had that permission to do that after realizing, oh yeah, I can improvise. And we all are improvising every day. Most of us are improvising because, life is unscripted, but most of us are improvising without having been through any training. And, like, I feel like all middle schoolers should touch improv, because it helps us develop, and I hate to say soft skills, uh, I prefer to say essential life skills.
Yeah.
And it makes us, better people individually, and makes us better able to navigate relationships.
100% too. And I also think that those middle schoolers, like that's the time where they still are like, they're making that transition of like having no fear about anything and just doing and like learning afterwards, to,
Mhm.
you know, turning into adults who then are like, oh, I'm not going to do that because that was so painful. And then all of a sudden adopting this fear that they never had as kids. And so being able to kind of slow that process down. Because I feel like my life went from, whatever it was as a kid, to like having everything planned. I was
Oh,
super planner.
yeah, me too. Oh,
Um,
I would be horrible without improv. I was such a type A personality
yeah.
because of my upbringing.
Hmm.
Oh, I couldn't even stand to be around myself.
Yeah. So really trying to navigate that. And I definitely think for A-type personalities, which I feel like it's like it's like in my blood, but I'm
You're
trying to
A light, A light.
yeah. Yeah, I'll just like A positive, A light for life. Just it's always going to be there, but just also knowing that when the shit hits the fan and everything falls apart, I'm not like, oh my God, I'm going to kill myself now. And I shouldn't joke around about that. But like, that's the type of mentality I had. Like, my life is over. Like, and it's bad. Like, it was bad. And improv kind of saved me from that. Like, okay, we got into Hawaii, which is an amazing place. And all of my suitcase busted open and all the clothes are all over the tarmac or whatever, like, and they're picking it up and just throwing it back and giving me my suitcase. Like, I would have freaked
Yeah.
um in a former life, and being like, okay, I guess we gotta buy a new, you know suitcase. Like, that was the worst of it. Just
Right.
really being able to say, okay, that happened and I'm gonna do this instead, and I'm going to choose not to have a hissy fit about it. So I definitely think that there are, I think everybody needs to go through improv. Now, is there, since you are like in this so much and you're teaching it so much to people, is there a specific tool that you've done in in your improv classes that you feel like teaches like one of the best lessons, or is there a go-to where that, like if we're like, let's do an improv skill right now, like what would you teach? And
oh my goodness, no pressure. All the improv things and all the line.
Yeah.
Give me the one that is the number one.
Yeah. I like to make it difficult.
Well,
or just use one example.
I would actually like to talk about the yes and cornerstone of improv. Some people are familiar with it. Some people are not, and some people are a little bit misinformed about it. So I really enjoy talking about it. So yes and is the cornerstone of improv, whether we're talking about improv for theater or we're talking about improv for life. The idea being that you technically say yes to your partner, add the and build something on that. So that's the very baseline description of it. Now I want to peel back the onion, okay, and get into like the lower layers, because I feel like tissues. When we say yes and in improv, we're not necessarily saying yes. Okay. And this is really, really, really important. It's the difference between accepting someone's reality and agreeing with it. And there's a big difference between, yes, Corona's getting very worked up about this too, evidently. Must be time for dog TV on the porch. And accepting and agreeing are completely different. Hold please.
I'm gonna play some music while we're waiting. Just kidding.
So when we talk about the yes and concept, we really are talking about accepting. So you're accepting your partner's reality, and your partner can be your stage partner in a theme. What did I even mean? Your stage partner in a scene, sorry. Or your partner can be your, someone that you work with, someone that you live with, a friend, a family member, like anybody. Imagine in politics, we're so divided now. Imagine if we use the yes and tool. It's like, yes, what I hear you saying is, I accept that you're saying that, and now I'm going to add my piece to it. Not I agree with you, but I accept your reality.
Yeah.
And it's a small nuance, and it's so important. I had a guy in my level 1 class, and we don't even get into these nuances until the first night of level 2. The first night of level 1, I literally just want them to say yes, because everybody's scared and nervous and like, I just want them to be like cheerful, to use words. Like I just want them to be cheerful. And so we were doing a very, 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 very basic yes and exercise that had nothing to do with peeling back the onion yet. And the student said to me, I can't do this yes and exercise with this guy you paired me with. I said, why not? He said, because he and I don't like the same sports teams, and that's what we're talking about. It's like, yes, I accept that you like, I don't know, the Dallas Cowboys, and I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, even on, things like that, it matters.
Yeah. You must and the Dallas Cowboys are the best team ever. And she's like, yes. And in an alternate universe. Just like
And I think, that's really important about human connection, period. when we do events in person, and that's, that's my world, is people showing up in a space together.
Mm-hmm.
I always talk about, there's two sides of the door. There's the side that we're on together, and we're gonna, try to create some magic together as a cohesive unit. And then there's the other side of the door, which is where all your stuff is from your day and basically from your entire life, right? So whenever we get together with anybody, or to do anything, we're bringing all of us with it, with us. So I always have people do some breathing and stretching exercises alone first, because I always say, like, improv is like dating. You have to spend a little bit of time on your own before you can connect with somebody else. And so those few minutes are so vital at the top. And I do it, on all the virtual playshops too, because we have to give ourselves permission to, be who we are, and to just let the day go.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. Oh, that's so important. So, all you people out there, you gotta be not just yes anding, but really thinking about what that yes and means. And, I think too, with just yes and, I think I spend a lot of time telling people that, like, it's okay to say no, because I think a lot of the people that I talk to, they'll say yes as a habit because they want to, they want to be accommodating, they want to people please, they want to do all those things. So how could you take a yes and when it's like something that you don't want to do necessarily?
Well, when you are doing that, you're yes anding yourself. So it's like, yes, I understand that you're inviting me to this, or you'd like me to do this, or whatever it is, and I need to take a self-care day.
Every day when it comes to you. Okay, so thank you. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that that's, making sure that, even if you feel like you are saying no to somebody else, you are in essence still saying yes to something, which is what you want, which is always the better thing. So maybe even thinking about, like, just what are all the ways that you can yes and yourself, and starting with that before opening it up to other people who might have requests or demands of you, and saying, like, is this in support of my needs right now?
Right.
Yes, I would love to help, and at the same time, coronavirus and COVID and all of this is, giving me this urge to be quiet, and yes, I can do that, and at a time that is right for me, type of thing. So, oh, I love it.
Always,
Is there is there other, like, improv tools or games that you just love to teach in general that
Are you
like,
inviting me to play a game, April?
I don't know.
I mean, just
yes
say.
and like,
I feel like you're the cagey guy who wants to ask me out on a date, but doesn't have the balls to, like, do it. Come on.
I just want to know what your favorite is. That's all.
You
might need to give people a visual.
So I have an improv show called It's All About Amy, and it's literally all about Amy, but it really features my partner or partners, because I'm merely the straight man in the set, telling stories. And my the show has been around for 10 years now, and my original partner out of Denver, Jared, he and I had a whole routine, pre-show routine. We would go get a cup of coffee, we would catch up on each other's lives, because we felt like that was, like, the way in which to have that connection that makes good improv. And then we would play our favorite game, which was one word at a time story.
Nice.
And it would always be completely ridiculous and silly, and we would laugh and we would have so much fun, and, like, that was what we would do. And then we would say, got your back, and we would have a great time.
Go do the thing. Yeah. Amazing.
So April, you want to play one word at a time story?
Let's do it. Do you have any different rules than all the different ways that I've played her?
I have no rules.
Okay. Me neither.
Just one word at a time, and it wraps up when it wraps up. I mean, we might be eating dinner here. It might go on. We just don't know what's gonna happen.
We shall see.
Okay.
All right, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Once
upon
a
time
there
was
a
small
boy
named
Jerry.
Jerry
liked
to
eat
mud,
but
he
didn't
like
mud
that
was
green.
One
day
he
ate
green
mud
and
he
got
really
sick.
His
mother
decided
to
take
his
to his his temperature. You see, I jumped that.
His temperature. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Who's next? Was it me or you?
You.
Oh, his temperature. What did you say after that?
Temperature.
Oh, his temperature. Twice.
So
he
was
annoyed
with
his
mother
for
taking
his
temperature
through
his
butt.
Consequently,
she
was
also
very
annoyed
with
him.
So
she
gave
him
a
pill
to
swallow.
After
he
swallowed
the
pill,
he
went
to
sleep
and
was
out
for
17 hours.
Finally,
he
woke
up
and
felt
okay.
Is that a word? It's one letter story.
His
mom
gave
him
a
high
five
and
said,
"Great
job,
son."
The
end.
That is definitely one that's going to be turned into a major motion picture, I think.
He hated eating green mud, and then he ate green mud, and then he got sick, had his temperature taken through his butt.
He had his temperature taken.
Temperature.
Yes.
He was out for 17 hours. He woke up and felt great, and his mom was like, "Great job."
Yep.
The end.
Brilliant.
Best story. I love it.
I
love how there was like one where I was like, I was like hoping that you were gonna go one direction. I was like, oh crap, and then I like just messed that up. So,
but it's like it's such a. I mean, I always say with my students, like, don't try to be smart, don't try to be funny, don't try to be anything. Just make sense.
Yeah.
Because we all want to write the story,
mm-hmm.
and I just want the story to exist. Period.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if we're not trying to entertain, we're just trying to be in the moment and be cohesive.
Yeah. And sometimes you do stuff like me where you're like, oh, I'm excited on where this is going, and you get too excited, and then you get slapped in the face and like, okay, let's take a couple steps back. But that's also the fun in it too, because you can stumble. And you can totally equate that to life, right? Because you just kind of keep on going to the point where it feels like it's in flow and you can predict a pattern, and then you get stopped, and then you're like, okay, pivot back, and then start building again. And so there's that. And finding an adventure in even just a one-word story is a great way to think about, how we can get through some of the things that we're going through right now, right? So like what's one thing that, or what's one way that you're applying find your adventure in, these types of times where we're kind of stuck in the house for the most part. You get the beach, lucky you. But how can you continue to find your adventure while you're at home or while you're quarantined or,
Well, one thing that I feel that has come up is what is important to us. Like I have made so many friends during this virus because of all the virtual things that I've been doing, right? And all the different communities that have cross-pollinated.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's amazing. Like we're all at home and we're having fun together. I had a virtual surprise party for one of my best friends from college. Like you'll appreciate this, 50th birthday. I got some people from the newspaper staff together from college, and we surprised him. So it's like finding your adventure isn't on a mountaintop; it's in you. And so you are the driver of your own adventure. Like I bought a scrapbook to finally deal with like some of the little things that I've picked up in my travels. I like to put them all in a little book. I haven't touched the thing because I've been so busy connecting with so many people. And I'm like, I have to stop and dial it back because part of finding my adventure, I want it to be like taking the happiness class from Yale, putting together this scrapbook, you know. But I've been connecting and reconnecting, and that's been good. Like I've talked to people that I haven't talked to in a really long time. Like all things considered, I've had a very positive experience, even though there have been a lot of things that have not been positive.
Yeah.
But it's like, what can you do with what you have? And that's a very improv mindset, so people at home oftentimes think, oh, there's nothing happening here. Mm-hmm. But you're the catalyst for something happening.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you like, well, here's an adventure that I would recommend having. It's like, what adventure do you want to have based on who you are as a person? Like what feeds you? Is it books? Is it films? Is it music? Is it connecting online? Like, is it an art project? Like, I haven't yet been bored. I want to just be bored. I'm like, when does that happen?
Yeah. I haven't been bored yet either, but I think a lot of it is like, okay, I just didn't want to do anything, and I think a lot of people, one of the things that I said in the newsletter that I shared just before coming on here was that like, if April for me, like my adventure was like just like accepting being in victim mode, which is never something that I would, tout like this is something that you should do. And I wanted to get out of it, but I almost kind of had to like just let go of everything in order to like get back in motion
but that's perfect. You're taking self-care time. So you're taking intentional time to dial things back, to take care of yourself. And that's very different than being bored.
Yeah.
To with intention, because I've sat on my porch so much. And I love it out there. It's very calming. So I sit out there with intention because I know that it has a positive effect on me. It's different than sort of rattling around your house and saying that you're bored.
Yeah.
And there's positivity in doing nothing because most of us do too much. Mm-hmm. So this has given us the opportunity to take a pause from running around so much.
Yeah.
And to connect with different things and different people, like connect with ourselves, connect with who we live with, whether it's pets or whether it's people, like literally sit down and like watch nature, like whatever it is. it's given us the opportunity to go slow.
Yeah. And I think that that's the most beautiful thing that's going to come out of this, is because what I'm hoping, at least for myself, is that yes, I am somebody that had my calendar planned to the half hour. Like there was no half hour open. And now my calendar is like, I've got an hour here and I've got an hour there and I've got nothing. Like we have these family meetings with my family, and every week towards the end of the meeting I go over the calendar. I'm like, here's what's going on. And it used to be like, Tuesday we've got this, Wednesday we've got this, and it's very high level, like so and so's got a show, or so and so, like mommy's gonna be here, or like we've got this party, blah 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 blah, or we're gonna do these things on the weekend. And now it's like, all right, so Friday we're gonna do this, and then oh, don't forget on Monday we've got this, and then that's it. So it's like so little, but like the important things are happening, and it's you can count it on the fingers on one hand. And I don't want to go back to the crazy busy. I mean, it'll probably get that way again when things really start to open up, like in school, having, but right now I'm just kind of like, right now I just need to get caught up on my bills. Like that's all I've got. And last week it was like, I just have to clear all my unread emails. Like it is so minuscule what I'm trying to accomplish. But even so, like these are all the things that before all of this, I'm like, gosh, I have 500 unread emails, and it just never stops. And it goes up to 1,000, and I get it to 500. And then I take a break again, and then it goes to 1,000, and I go to 500, and I keep on wavering. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go from 500 to 0. Like that is what's happening. And like it took that. But it took a lot of silence before that to be like, really, do I have to, like, do I want to do XYZ? Because I couldn't decide. So I think, that's an adventure in itself, because there's the taking that beauty of like the challenge of even trying to slow down is an adventure in itself.
Yes.
So there's an adventure everywhere. So
I have enjoyed having nothing on my calendar on the weekends.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I try to have
the beach in front of you.
And I've been, trying to finish the loose ends around here. I moved in here in January, so I called it the old lady condo, and then I called it the divorce condo. Now I call it the pineapple playhouse.
I love it.
So it's it's coming up in the world. So I have a few last little loose ends here, and I try to have one day a week with no Zooms.
That's good. Mine's more like 4. If I don't have.
And it's okay. Like my way doesn't have to be your way, and vice versa. And like nobody has to be at like anybody else. It's like, again, like that's why it's like finding your adventure.
Yes, absolutely. So if there's anything that you take away from this, is just take a look. It's in front of you. You don't have to think too far ahead if you don't want to. You can look at just what's the adventure in front of you for the next hour or day or whatever works for you. If you want to look out for the year, then go ahead. But
well, I have a lot more free time now because I don't go online looking at flights anymore and researching travel destinations. I booked an Airbnb for late in August for someone's birthday weekend yesterday, and I was like, oh my God, that's so far away. Will things even be clean by then? And then I'm thinking, oh my God, now what travel adventure am I gonna plan like between now and then? Is like that it?
Yeah.
Hey, I got to get back to picking up that book next to my bedside table that has all those emotions wrapped around it. Yeah. And just take the chair to the beach and be by myself and not sit by anybody and just read the book.
Yeah. I think there'll be a lot of power in that after you get it done. So. All right, I think that we should wrap it up since we're 20 minutes over, but
we are?
Yeah. Oh. Like, there's so much. I love talking to you, of course. I love everybody that I've had on the show. Like, this is so fun and so I was telling her before the show, I was like, this is gonna be so good because we're just gonna be in this good, positive, happy space when we're done with this. That'll help us carry for at least the next week, if not longer. And for those of you who check in on the show, whether live or whatnot, then obviously I had mentioned that I'm going to go on a little bit of a hiatus. I'm just trying to give people space right now to, myself included.
I was going to say, give yourself space. Yes.
100%. To just get some things done. I don't.
Or not.
And just, put myself in a place where, just kind of deal with all of this transitioning. And so we'll be back soon. I can't exactly say when. It's probably based on when my bills are done, which could take a while because I'm very behind. But just wanted to let you know that, Cheerful Conversations is not going away. And obviously we've got 48 amazing episodes to watch in the meantime. So just hang tight and we'll be back soon. But Amy, thank you so much for spending this hour and 21 minutes with me.
Hey, I put lipstick on for you, April.
I know. Like, I didn't even. I almost felt like, oh my God, I want to do lipstick too, but I'm too lazy.
Hey, you have your nails painted.
I have. They're like nice little like shimmery, glimmery.
Perfect.
That's like the only thing that I'm doing. Like I change my nail color every week, or every other week. But I'm starting to like pick at it, so I'm like, it's time. So we'll see you guys soon. And Amy, thank you so much for being here. Such a pleasure to just spend some one-on-one time with you and share our conversation with the world. And all of you who are watching, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much, Amy. Bye.